Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Parkour. I'm Brian Parks. In this video, I want to talk about what's generally called unvalidated inputs. And basically this is part of a deeper dive into what we talked about on Tuesday, which is specifically cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. One of the ways that you can cut down on cross-site scripting vulnerabilities is by validating your inputs. 99.9% of the time, you don't intend for people to put JavaScript into your inputs. In fact, I'd almost say 100% of the time, because with very few exceptions, you don't want people putting JavaScript in your inputs. And if you do expect them to put JavaScript into the inputs, it's a specific input box. So it's, it's 100% of all the other inputs. And the goal is to validate your inputs. So make sure that whatever is being entered is specifically what in the format and in kind of the style that you expect it to be input. Now, there are some heavy-handed approaches that you can do along the lines of, just sanitizing input, making sure to look out for bad things, which works most of the time, but you can get into weird situations. I've had situations like that cause bugs because let's say that the angle bracket was actually a valid input, but of course doing an HTML sanitizer, any angle brackets are going to be removed because it looks like an HTML tag. That's a little bit of a heavy-handed approach. So I recommend that only as a stopgap solution. What you really want to do is truly validate each individual input for the types of inputs that should be provided. So for instance, if you have a date picker, well, you should actually use a date picker widget, or at least use the date time local input type, so that the browser specifically enforces that format. Similarly, if you're looking for numbers, make sure you validate for numbers, or use a number field or use your number field. I highly recommend using the fields for that are specific to each type of data, because then you'll also be mobile accessible, right? That helps mobile devices figure out what keyword to show for each input type. Now, things like email addresses and telephone numbers get a little trickier because they're not really numbers and they're not really text, right? They are a series of characters in a particular format. My recommendation for this is to use some sort of validator behind the scenes. And if you're using something like React, Vue, Angular, one of those client-side UI frameworks, it's really easy to just update state and determine whether or not you can submit a form based on the validity of a particular field, and that can be updated, as it changes, pretty much in real time. So that's pretty cool. The thing to watch out for there is it's really tempting to build your own regular expressions, especially for emails. Phone numbers are a little bit simpler, but for email addresses, most of the time when you build your own regular expression for an email address, you're going to exclude perfectly valid email addresses. And I've actually run into this. I've tried to sign up with an email address that tends to trip up these naive regular expressions, and actually been told that my email address is invalid. I know it's not invalid. I can send email to that email address and receive the email perfectly fine. So it is a valid email address. It just wasn't recognized by that validator. So be on the lookout for those sorts of things. So far, we've just talked about the client-side validation, but it's important to validate both client-side and server-side, because there's nothing stopping, especially an attacker, A regular user probably isn't going to bypass your client-side validation. They might, you might accidentally introduce a bug in code where your client-side validation breaks, but an end user is probably not going to intentionally bypass your validation. But an attacker, they might not even be using a real web browser, so they might not even fire your client-side validation. So it's really up to the server side to mirror that validation. So, for instance, make sure that if you're expecting a date to come in, and especially in a particular format, A, make sure the input is in that format, and B, make sure it parses to a proper date. Do that validation step on the server side as well. Email address, same thing. Again, watch out for naive regular expressions. If you can use a regular expression that someone else has built and is well supported and well tried and known to support all of the email address formats, go ahead and use that. That's the recommended approach. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I've fielded a question before when it comes to email addresses. Well, why can't we verify that the email address actually exists? That's a whole big conversation about how the email system works, and the fact that you could potentially send an email to a perfectly a well-formatted email address, get a success response from the destination mail server, and have the email still never be delivered because it's a bogus address. But again, that's a discussion for another time. If you want to hear about that, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I'll put it on the schedule and talk about how the email system works and why you can do some pretty crazy things with it. Interesting, though not necessarily useful. I mean, useful from the good to know sense, but not necessarily, I wouldn't go doing a lot of these things. That part is not useful. Anyway, getting back to unvalidated inputs, you need to do client side, you need to do server side. And once you do that, then each input is independently validated. And maybe you have some kind of free-form inputs. WYSIWYG editors are a good example of that. Those are really, really, really hard to validate. And in some cases, if you do some sort of like HTML sanitizing on them, that might actually work if you're doing a WYSIWYG, because most of them tend to create, their state is an HTML document and should be validly formed. You can send that through an HTML sanitizer, it'll come out the other side. All of the angle brackets that should actually show up in the text are already encoded as ampersand GT colon or GT semicolon, so you don't have to worry about them getting stripped out because they look like HTML tags. Again, depending on the WYSIWYG editor that you're using, hopefully they're already encoding those. So you can send that through an HTML sanitizer, and that should actually be perfectly fine, because you do not want to write regular expressions for that. You don't want to write your own validation logic for that. There are some really good tools out there that exist. If you're in the .NET world, there's one called, I think it's just called HTML Sanitizer, that I've used in the past. Fantastic, works really well. It's built on top of a well-used and well-tested library called AngleSharp, which is kind of an HTML parser for .NET. Great set of libraries. Very friendly licensing, so if you're building a commercial product, it's safe for that. But that's the route that I would go for those sorts of things. So we've talked about what unsanitized inputs are. We've talked about the heavy-handed solution to sanitizing inputs. We've talked about client-side validation. We've talked about server-side validation. And I think that about wraps it up for unvalidated inputs. Again, this is part of kind of how we address cross-site scripting. Tomorrow we'll talk about some of the kind of the other side of how to address cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, which is safe echoing is what I'm calling the topic. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll be notified when that video comes out. And in addition to that, we'll also be putting some of these practices into place in Glassminnow in a future video. I'm not sure which week it is. I think it's in a couple weeks. So again, stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe so you'll catch that video. If you found this video interesting, insightful, valuable, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. I really appreciate that. That helps spread the reach of this video and helps share it with the world. Because as I've mentioned in previous videos, it's actually kind of disappointing how little time is spent in development on secure coding practices. This is a topic that we should really be spreading far and wide and talking about a lot more than we are, especially with the almost daily news articles saying that someone or another has been hacked. Not all of them through web application breaches. In fact, a lot of them through network breaches. But still, web application security is a big deal. We should be making a much bigger deal about it than I think we really are. So please share this video with your friends, colleagues, coworkers, management, people who work in the industry, people who are just getting into the industry and want to know how to, the right way to write code. In the coming days, I'll probably actually create a playlist that's like a good starting point for secure code development topics. So stay tuned for that and keep an eye out for that. And be sure to share that with your friends, coworkers, colleagues, associates, that sort of thing. Thanks for watching. Comment below if you have questions or suggestions for future topics, and I will see you tomorrow.